We are in this country, Ghana, and a minority in parliament walks out of the president and the parliament on such a fundamental discharge of responsibility and duty, and comes back to tell us, voters register. There's a part they say President Akufo-Addo goes down in history as the only president in the Fourth Republic to supervise the cruel removal of chairperson of the Electoral Commission.
Oh, in today's matter?
Yes.
As part of today's event?
This is part of their statement.
Today?
This is part of their statement, Paul. I have the constitution of
our
country.
You said you know the reason why. Tell us. You said there are two reasons.
I have the constitution of our country in our hands here. And tell me which part of the constitution the president has any role to play, except the automatic mechanical role that is vested in the president to forward a petition without fail.
Yeah.
It is mandatory to forward the petition without fail for the Chief Justice to determine a prima facie case. The president plays no role in accordance with the dictates of our constitution, the removal of a chairperson of the Electoral Commission.
Well, his role is to implement the recommendation of the Chief Justice's committee.
It's a shall. The president has no discretion. When the petition is lodged before the president, he shall. He has no discretion. When the recommendations are made, he shall implement. Yeah. He has no discretion. And yet, that becomes a basis for which the minority walks out of power. That's why I say, Paul, it's so laughable, it's so shameful. And then, even at all, if the minority in 2013 boycotted a state of the nation, does that become the reason for a walkout today?
Despite the fact that we have put out a formal statement, which includes concerns about the register. So I'm surprised that Abu should read our statement.
Yeah, the register. But
we did even hoist placards raising concern about the register. I can read that paragraph to you. President Akufo-Addo goes down in history as the only president of the Fourth Republic to supervise the cruel removal of chairperson of the Electoral Commission. And here, let me issue an anecdote, digress quickly. Abu Jinapor says that the president is a conveyor belt. As of right, he must forward it. Prince Derek J, I'm sure if he's watching, we'll send you a text about how many years he's had a petition on the Chief Justice, about the Chief Justice, that the president should have followed the Charlotte Osei example and just be the conveyor belt that the president is. The president has refused up to now. Every week, Prince Derek J has been putting out statements.
I don't know whether this is, what does, I mean,
there was a petition.
Yes,
there was a petition.
How does he know the petition was seen by the president? How does Derek J know that?
It was acknowledged. A senior journalist, Kweku Baku Jr., publicly, not once, not on this, on Metro TV or PCF, and said he had checked that the presidency will be working on it. Many viewers know about this case. So the Charlotte
doesn't work at the presidency.
So the Charlotte Osei principle. I remember that in the case of Charlotte Osei, the presidency was not a mere conveyor belt. It was an interested party to the extent that they asked the petitioners to go sign the petition and return with a more. If you are just a conveyor belt and the petition is not signed,
you can't forward it.
So you don't show interest. Don't go beyond what the Constitution says you should do. Why was that vested interest?
No, I don't get it.
Why was that vested interest? Why do you call the petitioners? Okay. You don't find it curious?
And say you should sign it.
Yes, sign it so that we can forward it.
Hold it there.
But Prince Derek J, another citizen of Ghana who petitions on the former Chief Justice. You do absolutely nothing about it.
Tell us about
I thought it's my time.
I'll come back to you. Let him intervene on this one because you raised that another Ghanaian is not treated well.
Honorable Okudjeto Ablakwa, you will realize that all the ranting you've been going on and on about the president, what's his name? The gentleman, Jay.
Prince Derek
Jay's petition and the rest. You don't even appreciate the difference between the removal of a Chief Justice and that of an electoral commissioner. There's a remarkable difference. When I read Akwete versus AG, where the Supreme Court held. Hold on. Let me make the point. You are busy saying that you said the president is a conveyor belt.
That's what he was saying.
I said so.
That is the law.
That is the law. And then you said that he said that in pari material. I mean, in the same respect, the same logic should hold. As a petition is before the president for the removal of Chief Justice.
What's the difference?
In the case of Akwete vs. AG, I believe I got the title correctly. The Supreme Court held that when the petition is sent to the president must establish a prima facie case.
But you didn't say that in the first time, which is true. But you didn't say that in the case of Electoral Commission.
No, in the Electoral Commission, he doesn't have to.
Oh, so there are differences.
There are differences.
In the case of the Chief Justice.
Hold on, in the case of Electoral Commission, he doesn't
you.
have to. And you recall that this was the time of Chief Justice Redu, I suspect.
Yeah.
Where a petition was lodged before President Kufuor, and pursuant to the provisions of the Constitution, which was at the time construed as being in the same
context as the
Electoral Commission. He forwarded it for the composition of a committee to go into the matter. And somebody went to the Supreme Court to argue that on a modern purposive approach interpretation of the provisions of the Constitution, the president must establish a prima facie case. I think it was,
the case of the Chief Justice.
I think it was Nana Bedi must have been a lawyer in that matter, where they went to court, and the Supreme Court held that there is a remarkable difference between the removal of a Chief Justice and the removal of a Justice of the Supreme Court. That in the case of the removal of a Chief Justice, the president must establish a prima facie case. So let him be educated properly.
Yeah, fair enough.
Hold on.
I understand the case you're looking for is Frank Ejechum and the Attorney General.
Chum versus Attorney General. Thank you. Yeah. And Bright Akwete must have been the petitioner.
Lawyer, the petitioner.
But he was involved
against
somehow.
Justice Redu.
Exactly.
Yes.
And then President Kufuor caused Mr. Kobna Japan to issue a press statement that he had that case. Anyway, so there's a remarkable difference.
We cannot decide to descend into the gutters.
Which is what you've done. Which is what you have done.
And engage in.
But let's not do that. We don't want to do. We are gentlemen.
He's my friend too.
But we're gentlemen.
But it's not.
It doesn't serve any purpose.
It doesn't serve any purpose. And it does not speak well of those who engage in that. So I will not join him in that.
No problem. So
I think the point is made.
You don't think that when a citizen of this country sends a petition to the presidency, he, out of courtesy, should receive a response?
Oh, now you're changing the goalposts.
I'm not changing the goalposts.
I agree with you that if a letter should have been written to him to say that the president is yet to make a prima facie case. I agree with you on that.
Absolutely.
A letter should have been written.
So
would you cause the office of the president now to it's now
Paul, it's not more. But Paul,
she's gone.
Will I call the office of the president? Let me make my point.
So for Charlotte Osei, there was that keen interest.
That's what the law says.
That's a fundamental point where you reach out to the petitioner to come back and go sign his petition and bring it.
But you went on rough road.
Finally, before we get back to the sessional address, the president says something.
I was making the point that we did not hide the second point he makes about the voters register. And by the way, let me.
What about the money?
State that the MP's Common Fund, which he clearly has no clue about and how it works and all of that, even if it is part of our reason, though we didn't state that, I don't see anything wrong about that. We want our constituencies,
because it is for development,
for
the benefit of the many.
And there is a constitutional provision that the president must release it. It's not his personal fund. So I don't see why we should split hairs about that. We stated on the voters register that conduct in infamy appears to have paved the way for an elaborate scheme to rig the 2020 elections by compiling a new voters register. Majority Leader Osei Sambusu let the cat out of the bag when he stated emphatically that if the MPP was successful in compiling a new voters register, the NDC will never come back to power. One wonders how a register that brought the NDC to power in 2012 and the MPP to power in 2016 can suddenly become so discredited in the eyes of the MPP, if not for the sinister agenda exposed inadvertently by the majority leader, unquote. So we didn't hide the fact that the voters register is part of
your boycott.
Our fundamental objection.
But why are you boycotting the president when the electoral commissioner says, I want to do a new voters register? Because then you will be misunderstanding the independence of the electoral commission.
We are not at all. That's why we link it we trace the trajectory to the removal of Charlotte Osei and the other commissioners. And remember that even before any prima facie case was identified, leading members of the New Patriotic Party in the 2016 campaign, the run up to the election, had said that when they come to power, they will remove Charlotte Osei.
But if you look at the president's own record, the one
she was appointed,
the one whose address that you boycotted, in his sessional address, in his inaugural address at the Independence Square, he had a paragraph of congratulations for Charlotte Osei. So if you take him and his history about Charlotte Osei, you should believe that in carrying out the conveyor belt duties, he had no particular interest against Charlotte Osei, because in his first inaugural address, he congratulated Charlotte Osei.
There are many Ghanaians, like my good self, who are not convinced that the president did not have any vested interest.
So you don't believe what he said in his inaugural address?
And after, we're all in this country.
Yes.
His
party people may have been against Charlotte Osei, but I'm talking about the President Akufo-Addo. If you look at his own history,
he made statements.
He congratulated Charlotte Osei in his inaugural speech.
He showed that he was not in favor of that appointment, and he continued to lambast the Electoral Commission, was not pleased with anything they did. Those are the facts.
But upon his ascending the throne, his first speech, he said, Charlotte. Okay, let's take a break. We want to say something about it. We're moving to the address very quickly to talk about the president saying that he has delivered 1978.
Yeah, but let me just make a quick point on this. Paul, the matters relating to the Electoral Commission and how issues of the whole controversy relating to the Electoral Commission, the Ghanaian people were all witnesses to it. Did he really, you know that the brouhaha by the Electoral Commission never got started by any political party. It never got started by the NDC.
It was internal.
It was internal. And the grounds on which persons were removed at the Electoral Commission
was about procurement.
Yes.
So, it's not political.
So, but the point is that, you see, this is the point I make.
Now, he doesn't believe that
it is for the uninitiated to believe that.
I am telling you so.
He doesn't believe that
I am telling you on authority that in two respects. First, the law doesn't permit a president to remove an electoral commissioner.
That's clear.
If the law permitted presidents to remove electoral commissioners or justices of the Supreme Court or people who are protected by the law, I believe there are a good number. There are people whom you appointed into offices today, they are still in office. Auditor General was appointed by the NDC, the Commissioner for Shraj, Supreme Court judges, some Supreme Court, they are all at post.
They are still there.
And we all know, every objective observer of how events unfolded at the Electoral Commission will come to the firm conclusion that the matters which culminated in the removal of officials of the Electoral Commission had absolutely nothing to do with any political party or any president.
Besides, it wasn't just Charlotte who was removed.
Yeah, about 3 of them. Yeah, and we all know how the issue started. Now, you see, Paul, when you use that as a basis, when you use such an unfounded basis, such a weak basis, in fact, such a non-existent basis to characterize and call the president a fascist, an authoritarian, a tyrant.
That's political talk.
No, but that is why I said what they did was very funny. It was laughable.
Funny is okay, but you said it's shameful.
It's shameful, very shameful, and laughable.
Let me take a break. Before we come back, we're going to the address.
It's shameful to describe such a distinguished president of international repute. I mean, in my view, the outstanding, distinguished president as a fascist and authoritarian on such funny grounds. It's very shameful.